Hey, live streamers, you know the deal. Drop where you're tuning in from in the comments so I know I'm live. Or if you're catching this on replay, go ahead and drop that hashtag replay so I can get back to you with any questions you may have. For those of you joining me for the first time, welcome. I am Tegan Bartos, founder of Jolt Your Career, a job search consulting firm that helps ambitious people like yourself land your perfect fit role, making more money than ever before. And today I have asked Adrianne, the director of client services at a company called 𝐋𝐈𝐕𝐄𝐒𝐌, to join me to talk about all things HR. Why? Because successful HR departments mean the difference between developing world-class teams or having a revolving door at the company. And so as you're vetting potential employers, you want to feel confident in the HR team because it can give you a little bit more confidence in the overarching organization. So without further ado, please help me welcome Adrianne.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hello. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited to chat with you. So before we begin our conversation, can you just share a little bit about yourself personally, and then maybe a little bit about like what 𝐋𝐈𝐕𝐄𝐒𝐌 is and does?
Sure. My name is Adrianne Burnikel. I was born and raised in Miami Beach to be specific.
Hey.
I'm an animal lover, and I write comedy for fun on the side, but none of it is safe for work, so don't ask. But 𝐋𝐈𝐕𝐄𝐒𝐌 Company is a godsend for me because it envelops all the things that I've believed in professionally throughout my entire career. Not only is it important to have good policies in place, but it's also good to know that people just feel like they're appreciated at work and they're really part of the team, not just satisfied, but actually engaged.
I love that. And I'm sure everyone tuning in loves that too, because for the most part, I work with job seekers. And so for every one of you dropping your good morning and hellos and where you're from, I am so glad to see you here. Even some HR professionals themselves. Anna, her niche is within HR. So Anna, I can't wait for you to add to the conversation. Victoria, you as well, being in the HR space. Love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and kick things off. Since I primarily work with job seekers, one of the things that is always on my mind is data. How can we make informed decisions? This mitigates risks. This builds confidence when making decisions to move forward. And one of the things that I thought was interesting about what you have access to is massive amounts of data within, what do you call it? Your
research and advisory services.
Yes.
Research library.
Yeah, like my what is it? My alfalfa like nerd alert is going off. So what are the things that are coming up on 2022's trend report within that resource vault?
Well, we're seeing a huge focus. Of course, this is all post-COVID lockdown and post-Great Resignation. All of our research is very up to date, helping people and employees find their place and make sure it's a place that they want to stay. So we're focusing a lot on diversity, equity, and inclusion, very important, because a lot of people don't understand that just because you might be hiring multiple ethnicities and multiple gender or orientations, do they still feel like they're working in a barrier-free workplace? And that's very important. So we help HR teams take it to the next level. So yeah, wonderful, you're hiring within those demographics, giving everyone equal opportunity, but do those individuals feel that they're truly appreciated for the work they bring to the table, or is there still some sort of stigma that's going to hold them back? So we educate managers, leaders, as well as the entire workforce on how to make these people feel included and to be more discerning about how they speak. So that's one big one. And then, of course, the other one is talent acquisition. As you know, everybody's in a great position right now for getting hired, but not every company has what it takes to hang on to their employees. So talent retention is our other big focus. And then finally, we have a fabulous manager training program, because I'm sure you've heard about situations where managers maybe get hired because they're very good at the job that they do, but they may not be great with people. So we teach how to be an empathetic leader. And that also makes people want to work harder for their leaders, and as a rule, creates a much tighter and better team.
That is huge. You just covered so much ground. So let me start at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders often do get into positions where the training it's non-existent. You are maybe a great individual performer, but there's a gap on how to go to the next level. And so often organizations aren't prepared to do that training. And so to outsourcing it, it's a wonderful opportunity for anybody who's in, the HR industry. If you are in that position, want to gain exposure to additional training that could benefit not only you, but your entire department, there are services out there that can come in and help support you as an individual or within your group, which is huge.
Yes.
Another thing you talked about is diversity. That's a big topic for a lot of job seekers because we're all different. We're all unique, whether it be any of the different spectrums of uniqueness, and we all have a place. And so how do we go into a melting pot of an organization and feel like we can be authentic while still being respectful towards others and feeling respected for what we have to contribute?
Right.
And the one that you had in the middle was, what was it? We talked about
Talent
diversity.
acquisition and talent retention are two big
Yes, retention.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of numbers coming out about people who left work and then regret it. There's been a lot of boomerang employees lately because sometimes chasing money isn't always the answer and the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And so all very, very interesting individual topics that I know we don't have too much time to dig into within these 30 minutes. But we will definitely have to nerd out later about it because it is important to make sure that when we're evaluating the organizations that we want to work for, we take in all of those considerations. What does retention look like? Are people happy here? Prove it. What are you doing to make people feel included? What are your numbers? What is the data? What programs do you have in place to have an empowered workforce that's ultimately going to be a more productive workforce? And what was the third one?
Management training.
Training, yes. And we all want upward growth mobility when we're on the job search. Like, who doesn't want that? And so it's nice to know that's all there. See, I got to work in baby steps. 3 concepts is a little bit too much for me to juggle at the same time. But that's okay. We got through it. We're tag teaming it.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's something else that you help support HR teams with that I know is on everybody's mind: software.
Yes.
So when HR departments, most people don't know how insanely expensive it is to hire people. And so when it comes down to the cost of hiring, software can be leveraged to cut down on those costs. Like ATSs, for example, applicant tracking software, those scary things that are actually just big, giant filing cabinets that nobody should actually be scared of, but everybody's scared of.
Right.
So how do you help support HR departments when it comes to figuring out what software is the most cost effective that can handle their the type of solutions that they're looking to solve and things like that?
Well, we are more than happy. Let me back up. Also, we employ a lot of former CHROs who have a tremendous amount of experience in the business. Not only that, but our sister company, Infotech, focuses exclusively on IT, and they have research and advisory services for them. So we have a lot of shared combined knowledge when it comes to software. And what we do here is we offer contract negotiation services. So let's say you want to employ a software like Workday. That's a big undertaking to change everything you've done and just throw it all into Workday. But let's say there's some competitors to Workday that you want to evaluate as well. Well, we can go in and do that work for you while you're busy doing your regular duties. And we can bring to you our findings, and we can bring to you the pricing that we all received. And then once you've chosen one with our help, we can go in and negotiate the price as well. So that's one of the services we provide that are included in our counselor package. And I think it's super important because obviously HR departments have budgets and they want to stay within their budgets. So anytime you can come in under budget, you're looking great. And that's what we do to help here.
Yeah, and then you can invest it more in your talent so you can get some of the top tier talent that you're looking for.
Absolutely. Yep.
So one of the things that we're talking about today is, some of these mega companies, they have a lot of this built in, but there's so many different, small to mid-sized companies that job seekers sleep on because they don't think that they have these sophisticated capabilities but they do. Even if they don't have it internally, when they outsource it, it can be just as great, if not better. Because if you replay what Adrianne just said, they have former CHROs on staff to consult on whatever it is that an organization is dealing with. So you can get some of the best talent to come in on a consulting basis to help solve these major issues. So I just saw a question pop up, and it is, will there be a Q&A in this session? If anybody has any questions, drop it in the comments. Anna said, it is so hard to find a system that fits all your needs. It is. And so often as job seekers, we're not empathetic to the other side of the table. And the realities are there's constraints. No software is perfect. And so when you're getting frustrated when it comes to uploading your resume and having to, refill everything out on the application, you're saying like, well, forget this software. Somebody's just being lazy. They should just be able to email them. No, that's not the case. That would take up way too much time. Then funds would have to be diverted, elsewhere, which would make it so that everybody wouldn't be able to reach their full earning potential because these antiquated systems don't help. So instead of fighting against the technology, figure out how to work well with it. And so I see a LinkedIn user saying, hostile work environment and out of touch HR person, best solution is to contact a CEO. Honestly, that's not what this session is about. So I'm not sure who this person is. I'm so grateful that you joined. But we're here today to talk about successful HR departments. And not all HR departments are in a good space. But for those candidates who are eager to jump into the fire, they don't turn away from the heat, who want to go in and rebuild systems, rebuild departments. Those are the type of companies that these people are seeking out to have the type of impact, to create the type of change and the transformation that they're looking for. So although, yes, as a job seeker, if you're in a hostile work environment, if you are within HR and the HR unit is hostile, then maybe you go elsewhere if your voice isn't going to be heard. If enough people leave organizations won't be able to function. Us as employees, our employers, ooh, my necklace must have got angry because it just popped right off. We as employees are the best resource an organization has. And organizations can't thrive without us. So I feel you when it comes to hostile work environments. I've been in them before. Leave.
Yeah.
Leave. It's
Yeah.
not going to change because it's a top bottom problem typically.
Yep.
So, and yeah, if you want to drop a comment, if we got a comment, got a question, drop it. We'll address it, even if it's a little bit off topic. It's all love here. We are here to have a conversation with each other, but for your benefit. So whatever you got, throw at us. Okay. So switching gears again. Almost all of us have participated in employee satisfaction surveys or employee surveys of some sort. How in the heck do these things happen? Explain what happens in the background. How do they determine what questions are asked, when they're given, and then we can talk about how they're used after you explain this. Because I'm a little confused on this. Because some companies, it seems like they very much so value employee feedback. And then there's a lot of people, like the person who just commented, and it was like, nobody seems to listen.
Yeah.
What is the deal with these?
Well, that's where having a service like the Planning Company is very important, because you can generate a survey. I mean, SurveyMonkey is free. A lot of companies can do that. But what do you do with the data when you get it back? That's where people are like, okay, all right, so I'm looking at a bar graph. These people are happy, these people are not, these people are so-so. What do you do with that? McLean & Company comes in, and by the way, for the cost of one survey from a professional company that does just surveys, we'll usually buy you a year's membership within McLean where you get 2 free surveys a year. But
wait, so you get the surveys and you get like the resource vault with all the data and access to the subject matter experts?
Yep, and not only that, but you get me. So you don't have to learn our system. You don't have to go digging through our website looking for one thing. Ask me for it, I'll go get it for you. And if you're planning a survey, we're going to help you create those questions so that they're a little bit more strategic to the problem you're trying to solve. Beyond that, this is what makes McLean different. A lot of companies will provide you the survey service, provide you the results, and get you thinking. McLean comes in one step further, but we're going to review those results with you. We're going to analyze and identify problems that you may not be able to recognize. And then we're also going to help you come up with a plan of action on how to actually take action on all of the results, so that you're doing it with someone holding your hand, someone with experience holding your hand. And our CHROs are not always just CHROs. Some of them specialize in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Some specialize in payroll or compensation, and others specialize in benefits. So you'll have unlimited access to these people as often as you want. I have a client right now that I'm on the phone with them, and I bring in a specialist advisor 2 or 3 times a week right now, and it's included in the package. So anytime you've got a question in your head, who cares if you've been there for 10 years or 10 months? Sometimes there are issues that come up that take a little bit more than a Google to solve. That's what we're here for. So you can think of me as your concierge or your legal assistant who is going to go do the background work to make you shine.
As a Google goddess myself, I will say it is having mentors is an unbelievable resource and investment that you can have in yourself. And so if you are within the HR industry and you're thinking like, wow, no company that I've ever worked at had these types of resources available to them, propose it. Be that voice of saying, hey, I've got an idea on how we can improve our training, how we can improve our systems, how we could potentially save on some software costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it benefits not only just the HR department, HR impacts everybody, the entire company culture. So that is so interesting. And when it comes to the employee survey feedbacks, I think you bring up a really good point. Sometimes companies just genuinely don't know what to do with the data, or leaders have conflicting priorities where, yes, this survey mattered to me, but I need to put out this fire right now, or I'm dealing with this right now. And it kind of gets put on the back burner, and before you know it, it's the next year. So Anna says, data is so crucial for HR. Bringing in a third-party partner is so helpful. Many HR departments still struggle to analyze data and take action. Yeah, absolutely. I've been seeing more and more, because I work with a lot of data scientists, I've been seeing more and more data analyst roles actually opening up, even at smaller organizations within the HR function, to help them achieve their goals, because an empowered workforce is what is going to propel companies' growth. And that's ultimately what an organization is looking for most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see.
And when you think about the cost of hiring somebody new, but then also training them, that can run into the tens of thousands, if not more. So it takes years for that company to recoup those costs after they've hired the employee. So it's a wise investment to hedge your bet.
Absolutely. Especially since most employees only last 3 years in a row. So by the time you do recoup your investment, it's talent is definitely a cost to employers, and turnover is like that retention piece that we talked about earlier. And employees, us, since I primarily work with job seekers are thinking, they want to come in and not have the experience. Like, just if someone would just give me a shot.
Yeah.
Where employers are thinking, I don't have the funds to train. I have a problem and I need somebody to know how to solve it. That's what I'm paying for. I'm not paying for you to get educated. I'm paying for you to solve my problem. And so there's a bit of a dichotomy here. But with these types of solutions, there can be a little bit of a middle ground. We can pull up more aspiring people within the HR community and properly train them, and are more likely to retain our mid to senior level leaders within the HR space with opportunities like that. So let me read Wesley's question, and I definitely need to go to the eye doctor because I'm having a hard time seeing this. Sometimes it's intimidating as a leader to look at data and hear what it says. It takes brave leadership to truly make change.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Really brave leadership, because there's always that doubt. Is this what it's truly saying? Because we all know data can be manipulated. Or if the study was done in a certain way, it may not actually be what we're looking for. So interesting. And then Vanessa just said, that's such a great point. The company's perspective versus the job seeker's perspective. Yes, it is very much so a dichotomy. And that's why leveraging your relationships, building your brand, is what makes you an unstoppable force in your career. Because at the end of the day, good people know good people. And if you have some growth opportunities, if someone believes in you, they will sponsor you. They will mentor you. They will go out of their way to find services like this that we're talking about today to help with your development. Mm-hmm. All right. So I know we're getting close to your time, and I know you are so busy. So 2022 job search. How can job seekers go in and they're, when they're in the process, sometimes they're speaking to HR, sometimes they're speaking to TA. How does someone know the difference? What is the difference between HR and TA? Are they sometimes the same?
HR is an umbrella, and when it's a larger company that has a team of HR people, one will specialize in talent acquisition, one will specialize in benefits, one will be an HR generalist who kind of covers everything. Someone else will handle employee relations or workforce safety or learning and development, which is a big one that we like to work with as well. And those are all under the HR umbrella. So a talent acquisition specialist is usually considered an HR professional.
Okay. So in previous lives, we talked about the differences in recruiters. So I'm not going to go into that here, but I really appreciate you explaining the difference between HR and TA and just helping job seekers understand that really TA is just an umbrella or TA is just a function that fits under the HR umbrella. And depending on the company size, there may be an HR generalist who does a little bit of everything you just mentioned, wears multiple hats, or at a larger organization, it may be more siloed. And so when we're on a job search, you may be speaking to a sourcer, you may be speaking to a recruiter, you may be speaking to a coordinator, a scheduling coordinator, you may be speaking to coworkers, hiring managers. You may have interview with a sourcer, then a recruiter, then an HR business partner, then the hiring man. I mean, there's so many different ways for companies to do it. It just depends on what their policies are that are in place. And so when someone's going into the interview process or the job search process, how does one look at an HR department and feel confident that, okay, if I know HR is the backbone of most organizations, how do I look at it and feel confident that this HR department is going in the right directions? What are tells of a good HR department?
Tells of a good HR department is approachability and a great sense of empathy for the person they're speaking to. But sometimes people can't always navigate that in a way that benefits them. So I've seen situations where job seekers actually get a little freaked out because it's like, no, this is too easy. I don't know. They get scared off. But the fact is, the entire professional world is turning towards a more empathetic leader, a more empathetic decision maker, because we want to know that people have psychological safety when they're working within a company. And that's where McLean comes in to make sure that they are getting that. And I think as a job seeker, the most important thing you can do is hire a professional career coach, a professional resume writer, someone to help you navigate that. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, Tegan, you and I do something very similar. We support our clients to do a better job and make better decisions.
The reason why I like what you do so much is because there's the human element to it, and there's the data element to it. And both of those pieces, the data back strategy and the human empathy to it, that's where magic is created. And just like I'm advocating for individuals within HR, if you don't feel supported in your current role, because I have worked with more HR professionals during the pandemic than I have ever in my 10 years of doing this have worked with. The burnout is real in a post-pandemic HR department. And we need our HR teams. Every organization needs their HR team. And if you're at that point where you're feeling that burnout, maybe before leaving, you suggest bringing in a resource like this. Or maybe you do leave because another organization has already proactively figured out that that's really important for their team, and you go to that kind of culture. Neither way is better or worse than the other. It's just options. And that's a beautiful thing that we have as job seekers, to have options. And to your point, getting a coach, whether that be a consultant like myself or someone like you who might just be a friend, right? But who's knowledgeable about the industry, to say, hey, can I just share where I'm at right now? And we try to problem solve and come up with a strategy that'll work for me to reach my goals. It works the same way. If you approach it with a human element and a data-driven strategy, you're very, very likely to have success. Okay, so Vanessa, I see your question. International candidate experience is not my area of expertise. I am so ignorant when it comes to this. I work with global talent. My husband heads up a global executive recruitment, and I should know more on this. I just don't. But what I will do is I will ask him to come on a live and talk about the nuances of international hires. Now, there's two different kinds of global talent. One where I'm looking for an SPV in Vienna, and that person is out of Vienna or needs to relocate to Vienna, or that person lives in Vienna and now this person needs to come to America, which is completely different. There's so many different nuances with global talent, Vanessa, that I'll have to do a whole entire another live on it with someone who's more experience on it than me. One of my favorite HR managers former HR managers and career coaches with international experience is Sonal Ball. She's fantastic. I'm certain she has a YouTube video on this. She has over 100,000 YouTube followers. I will dig her through her YouTube videos to try to find something. And if not, I will also ask her to make one, Vanessa, so you can get an answer to your question, because I don't want you to leave here not feeling supported today. Okay. And then Anna says, yes, Adrianne, HR is not the police. Resources mean you help people learn the right ways and how to navigate laws, etc. Burnout was on the front page of SHRM magazine this quarter. Burnout is real. Yeah, it is. And that is why I was really excited, Anna, that Adrianne came on today, because some people are leaving some fantastic companies because of burnout. And some people are regretting it because then they go into a fire. And I want people to not run from something. I want people to be running to something. And so all of us within this space, whether we're career coaches or within the HR, we want people to feel empowered, and we want people to feel valued, and we want people to understand what they value. And when we are experiencing burnout, our minds aren't clear and we don't make the best decisions for ourselves. And that's why having a sounding board, where just like we're doing right now, going back and forth, it can really help you make more competent decisions, which is why having access to those subject matter experts, it's invaluable.
Absolutely.
Okay, so one last question. Do you have time for one more question before we end?
I sure do.
Okay. So this question is, according to your experience, what kind of management is best for remote work? Well, I'll let you go ahead first if you'd like.
I think I'm a big advocate of remote work. I think it's the best version of work-life balance you can get. So unless you need to be on the floor of a manufacturing plant or something like that, I don't think anyone can't manage well remotely. I'm a big advocate for it. And it all comes down to psychological safety. Same with burnout. You know, most people won't get burnt out if they can be honest with their employer, and their manager will strategize to help relieve some of that burnout. But if you don't feel like you can speak up because there's no psychological safety, then you're probably going to get burnt out. But having the ability to work in the comfort of your home and the clothing that you find comfortable can reduce that. So again, to answer your question, unless it's someone who has to be in a retail environment or a manufacturing environment, I can't think of any situation where a manager cannot work remotely as long as they're effective.
I love that, because I think that we're all capable of doing our work from wherever it can be done from.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're sitting in a cubicle, we can be sitting in our home office.
Yes.
There's been a lot of talk recently about like work never leaving home. And so I think that when managers are remote, one of the great things to keep in mind is turning it off.
Yeah.
At some point, work ends and home life begins again. and it's time for us who, when we're looking at trend reports, one trend report just came out and said that some of the peak hours of work is 10:30 p.m. for emails to go out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was alarming to me. People go to bed. And now it's one thing if there's a childcare issue and you're juggling some things and you're going back and responding afterwards, but that puts pressure on people. When they're then getting emails at that time and their phones are dinging, they feel like they need to be working 24/7 to have that job stability. Mm-hmm. And so put on that send out first thing in the morning, 6:30 a.m., put it out to send out your response at 6:30 a.m. to respect some of that work-life balance. Because as we were talking about, throughout the conversation, the goal of an effective HR department is to have an empowered workforce, not a burnt out workforce. And so with that, that'll be the last question we take so I can be respectful of your time. But if anybody is curious about how to get more information on the HR services that you provide or some of the training that you provide, how to get their company to consider some of these things, how does someone go about doing that?
A couple of ways. Of course, you can contact me through my LinkedIn page. You can also go to 𝐿𝐴NandCompany.com, as you see the sign behind you. So it's 𝐿𝐴NandCo.com. Otherwise, you can always give me a call. My phone number is listed on my LinkedIn page. You can text me as well. So it's not hard to reach me.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, I am going to wish you all a very happy weekend. Wherever you are in the world, I hope that it is finally spring if you enjoy spring. It is sunny outside, and my mama came into town. So you will not hear from me all weekend. But for everybody who tuned in today, I appreciate it. For those of you who I promised to get to your questions later, if you do not hear something by by end of business on Monday, get back at me, because work-life balance is important. And so while my mom's in town, I'm going to be spending some time with her. And but I also care about you, and I want to get the answers to your questions answered. So I missed a couple of questions and already promised to get back to one. So we will do that. And on that note, Adrianne, thank you so much for joining me today. It's so exciting what you all are doing on how to combat some of this burnout within the HR departments and overall holistically benefit organizations and every employee, despite them being in HR or not. So I so appreciate you dropping so many gems today.
My pleasure, and thanks for having me. It was wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, we will see you all next time.